Here we are. We're back for another episode of the After Hours podcast. And this week, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Mr. Mike Giacobbe, who's a dear friend of mine from growing up, probably from around 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. And then it's amazing to be here today with some exciting stuff that we have going on, stuff we've been building. And I'm grateful to be here sitting next to you, brother. So
I appreciate that, Dane. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you every day.
It's amazing because going back to some of the crazy times we had in our teenage years, which some things we can talk about, some things we probably can't talk about. Most things we probably can't talk about. I never thought, maybe you did. I never thought, fast forward 15 years later, having a business, having a brotherhood still, going through a lot of great things, dealing with adversity together. Again, like I said before, I'm just grateful to be here, and it's not something I don't think you plan life. Life just kind of goes in its own way sometimes, but to be here today, I wouldn't wish it to be any other way. So let's get right into things. I know it's funny because when we kind of met, years ago, right after we started hanging out, and it was through other friends. I think we might have
met paintballing.
We met paintballing, and I forget if it was.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk that much at paintball, I don't think. But
no.
It was Joe and Anthony Amoroso.
Joe and Anthony Amoroso, who we met through.
Who I love.
To death. 15 years later, it's amazing to see everybody going through all the journey in life, the journeys in life that all of our close friends and, are going through. And a lot of people tend to veer off in different directions. And you always know those people and those friends that whether you have...
Just to clarify, though, we weren't like paintballing buddies.
No.
Right?
No. Our fathers were friends.
We didn't meet paintballing. We used to go paintballing all the time together. We met once. It happened to be at the paintball place.
And then we found out
to be a beautiful friendship.
Yeah. We found out our dads were friends for 20 years before. They became closer after I think we started hanging out again, which is amazing and, just great to see, to see anybody who started out, in life, whether it was, our friends or anybody I'm around nowadays, to see the milestones, to see, everything we've all gone through to be here today. I know I'll keep saying the same thing. I'm grateful for that every day. And to go back to our kind of childhood stories that we were, talking about. Yeah, we might have ran into each other at paintball. Then I remember through the Amorosos, we started hanging out more, and we had a lot of mutual friends. I just remember the first time you being in my dad's place in the Hamlet in Plainview, and you walking in, my dad seeing you or whoever was there at that time, and we didn't even know at that time that our fathers had a friendship.
Right, I remember that.
It was probably not until a couple of months later that I think just in conversation that your last name got brought up or whatever it was, and I forget what happened. My dad was like, "What are you talking about?"
My memory from that time isn't fantastic in general.
Definitely not.
Unfortunately. I wish it was better.
But I remember right away him saying, like, "Wow, Mike's son, Mike Giacobbe." And then once I feel like I found out and we found out that there was a connection there from years ago, that I'm sure, formed our brotherhood and our bond for years to come. And going kind of right into, I know you went to college, you were in the city.
Before we get into that, though, I think it's important to note that when we became really close...
I was wearing all your clothes. I was...
Not...
You always had the nicest clothes and...
Listen, I just got my license. This is maybe like 2 weeks after I got my license. I still had, in New York, they give you the paper. It's like a temporary license. It doesn't even have a picture on it.
I remember this story.
Here's your temporary license. I was young. I was dumb. I was an idiot. I was with girls in the car, driving all crazy. Had to rush to get one of them home. And
was this on the Seafood Oyster Bay, if I remember the story?
Well, it was on multiple highways, unfortunately. This cop was behind me the whole time, and basically, as fast as I got my license, it was suspended for 6 months. I had a car, though, and you had a license, but you had not yet gotten a car.
Or I got it taken away. It was one of the two, because I remember that tend to happen a lot back then.
Yeah, it might have actually.
It was when I
think
jumped the
you
Jeep.
totaled it. You totaled your car. That's what it
Woods.
was.
Yeah, in the woods in
You had
Plainview.
totaled the Jeep Wrangler.
Not an
So-
accident. It was an intentional totaling, if you want to call it. In the woods in Plainview, if you remember, for some reason I thought that because it was an off-road vehicle.
It's not.
That you can jump the vehicle. And I just remember that. It's so funny you brought this story up because that is when we got very close, just having flashbacks now. I remember I took that car off that jump, like in the woods by my house, and when I landed, like whoever was in the passenger seat with me, which I think was my friend Dante growing up, which I remember our heads almost went through the ceiling. Yeah. And to make a long story short, because this is a good one, I remember going to the car wash off Round Swamp Road after we pull out of the woods because I'm like, I got to clean the car. My father's going to have a heart attack like, right now. You know, I was probably 17. I just got the car.
Yeah.
So I get the car wash. I'm like, wow, everything looks great. Everything is fine. The day goes by. The car's in the driveway. I just remember waking up that next morning to like, I don't know what was going on. And he was like, get downstairs right now.
Okay.
You know, I go downstairs. My car's in the driveway that I thought was fine.
It's clean.
It's clean. You look underneath the car, the shocks are hanging off the car. It's leaking fluids from all different places on the car. And
Yeah, you wrecked the suspension, the
destroyed the whole
transmission was
car.
wrecked. Yeah, everything.
And I remember it went to your father's shop, and for about 3 months, it was probably a 3 or 4 month period, you know, that obviously my father intentionally didn't fix the car right
Yeah,
away to teach me a
yeah.
lesson, which now I get,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it's so funny that's not funny, but that's when you had lost your license and I had my license, but no car. So I just remember, I think you were going to Portledge at the time, or was that still St. Anthony's at the time? You were in between going to St. Anthony's or Portledge, and
I don't
I remember dropping you off at school, then taking your car to my school, and you know I wasn't allowed to park in the parking lot because I didn't have the right attendance. So you had to park down the hill at Plainview High School and walk up every day. And I just remember people always saying to me like, Dean, you drive an Escalade, man. You got a sick car. It's a nice car for 17. The Escalade with the rims and the sound system. I remember pulling up into the parking lot, just full blast.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was really, it was,
Fun times, man.
looking back on it, it was like a little too ridiculous. I remember they weren't spinners. They were called stills.
It was still, so when the car
Stills,
was going, the rims
right.
would stay still. That was amazing.
Right, the car could be going 80 miles an hour down the highway, and the rim is just, it looks like the car's like being pulled, like a sled.
People still talk about that car to this day.
I put a train horn in the
I
car,
remember that.
a full JL audio, fucking crazy sound system. And that car, I just want, hopefully they see this. I'm sorry if you bought that car. We traded that car back into Sarant Cadillac a lot of years ago, and I'm sorry. I apologize.
Some of the best times, people still talk about it to this day, just some of the experience we had. I remember leaving my dad's 50th surprise birthday party and getting in that truck, and it was just always a fun time with laughs and, you know, going back, and I always talk about this, like thinking there was problems back then. Just like life, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
You never know until, I guess now, you know, being 31, 32 years old.
You look back and it seems dumb.
Yeah, it seems dumb.
But then it's like,
Simpler
but
times.
the challenges I have today are really hard. But I'm sure 10 years from now you'll look back and be like, oh, I was an idiot.
Exactly.
It's all perspective. I find that life only gets harder. It doesn't get easier. You just get better at dealing with the challenges that come your way. You get stronger, you get
More resilient.
smarter, you're able to conquer things. You develop as a human being, and you know, life only becomes easy when you as a person have developed yourself. Life's not easy for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about it a lot, that victim mentality, which, you know, I've had. We're all human beings, and you want to blame other people, and it's never you, and, you know,
easy
it's
to
everybody
do.
else's fault. That's the easiest way to be, you know,
So
for most people. But it's like that self-accountability, whether it's in business or at the gym or in life or whatever it is. And like you said, you made a great point. 15 years from now, we're probably going to look at these times and laugh about them in a positive way.
You're going to be like, that was a joke compared to what I'm dealing with now.
Exactly.
And you're going to think those problems are bad. But, so someone else has bigger problems than you and me.
Yeah.
And you can sit here and it's all about your mindset. It's like positivity attracts good things. If you want to sit there and blame all of your problems on other people, even if they are other people's fault, it doesn't even matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah. Deal with it head on.
You just deal with it. Oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. That's why I can't do it. That's why no one cares. No one. So what? So you're just going to be in the same position for the rest of your life, or like you're just going to sit here and complain about it and say, well, I have an excuse for why I didn't succeed because the deck was fucking stacked against me. All right.
Listen, growing up, and you dealt with something that most people would probably make an excuse out of for their whole life, and we never even seemed to talk about it because you're so like in a positive way. Like you grew up, and was it brain cancer you had, or you had up as a young age? You had a scar on the back of your head. We were all curious always why that happened, and it wasn't for a little while that. I forget if we talked about it or I found out from my dad that you had gone through traumatic stuff at a young age, and to see a teenager or however old you were, I don't even remember because we didn't have a relationship at that time, talking about making excuses, a child or like even like my mother had cancer when I was in high school, I'm sure you can always find a way to make like, because of this, I'm going to act this way. And you definitely didn't do that. Look where you're at in life. So speak about as a child going through some stuff.
I do like how you transitioned into that from the whole victim mentality thing.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's like you get handed a victim card. It's like, here's your victim card. Now you can, whatever. You can have an excuse. You could make people feel bad for you. You can... post on social media and get attention, and you can here's your victim card, and it's like, do you want that? Do you want that to be the way that everyone views you? Do you want to be viewed as a victim? Do you want to be viewed as somebody who, oh, poor Michael, oh, he had to deal, he got cancer when he was a child. It's like, okay, but at the same time, everything comes back to mindset, like we said before, where it's like, yeah, it's traumatizing. Sure, it's traumatizing. Life is traumatizing, I mean, I watched my parents get divorced over a period of 9 years of being in court multiple times a week for 9 years. That was way more traumatizing.
Remember the child courts and going.
Way more traumatizing than a health battle that I had back in high school.
Do you think you didn't realize what you were going through because you were so young, maybe? Does that have something to do with it, you think? Like at 30 years old, I feel like a lot of people have more pressure naturally on themselves, so it might be
It's not about pressure. It's that like you've built more of a life for yourself at 30 years old. You have people that depend on you at 30 years old. You have people that you really care about and people that really care about you, and you really understand the depth of those relationships better than you do when you're 16, and all you care about is chasing girls and go out, get drunk and whatever,
Because even growing up, my parents got divorced when I was 2. Like, I don't remember that because I was 2 years old.
Right.
But if that happens to a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, they might have some, or more of an opinion.
It started when I was in, I don't know, I was like, I had to be 12, 13 years old, and they didn't get divorced till I was halfway through college.
Yeah.
It was my whole, but I don't want to talk about my parents' divorce. I'm just saying.
There's still no excuses, like you said, like no matter what it is in life.
What are you going to do? It's like you're going to sit there and say, oh, something really bad happened to me, and that's my excuse for why, for what? That's your excuse for what, I guess is my question. Is your excuse for being a failure? Is your excuse for not living up to your potential? Is it an excuse for, not building a personality and growing friendships and all these other things? It's like when you put yourself into that victim category, you just become You become what you think you are and what you tell other people you are. That's what you become. And it's like, well, is that what I am? Am I a cancer victim? Is that me? Yep. I'm a cancer survivor. Like, even saying that sounds weird to me. Like, yeah, I survived cancer. I'm not taking away from people who, had that journey and feel empowered by it. That's great. You should feel empowered by it. I'm just saying, like, cancer's not a personality, and it's not even a personality trait. It's something that happened to you. It's not who you are, just like anything else that happens in your life. People have childhood trauma that's 1 trillion times worse.
Yeah, and some people let
Then, you got a brain surgery, I got a spine surgery, I got some radiation, and then everything was all good, and I haven't had any instance of recurrence. I didn't have major financial burdens associated with getting everything done. I had a supportive family. My father would drive me to and from treatments for weeks.
Boston, right? You were in Boston.
Yeah, up in Boston.
A lot of time in Boston.
But, when you have all those things, it's like, what are you going to sit there and focus on the one negative fucking thing? It's like, for what? You're going to be faced with challenges your whole life. What are you going to do? Just make that overcoming or not overcoming a challenge your entire personality? I don't agree with that. I don't think that you should be out there hoping for other people's sympathy and hoping other people look at you like, oh, poor whatever your name is, just for attention. I think that's cheap.
Yeah.
And I think it's shallow, and I don't think it has a lot of meaning. That's
a mindset, like you said, because some people would let anything, could be the most small situation, affect them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's my what do they call it? It's a thing now in Gen Z. Not to sound old, but anyway, the kids call it like a villain origin story or whatever the fuck. No, that's not what it is. It's whatever. It's like that point in your life. It's like a defining moment where now that what are you going to do? You're faced with a choice. It's like, okay, I have a challenge. Am I going to make the biggest deal, let everyone else know about my challenge, get as much support as possible for my challenge, and just look for likes on Facebook? It's like, okay. And again, I don't want to take away from people who
are proud of, like you said,
are empowered by these experiences. You should be empowered by them. And I'm not saying you should be private about them. You can be public about these things too. I'm not that way, but I'm not saying you shouldn't be that way. Of course, that's totally fine. It just comes down to, do I want people to feel bad for me? Do I want people to look at me through that lens, through that filter? Because it's always going to be through that filter.
Or is it like, wow, he went through this, and look, he doesn't even not talk about it, but you don't let that define who you are in a negative way.
Why would I let anything like that define me? I had some foreign aggressive thing removed from my body and treated, and it's like, if you have diabetes, or if you have, some kind of condition, whatever it might be, it's like, is that you? Is that who you are now? Is that you're the diabetes guy? You're the cancer guy? No, thank you. I'm good on that. That's all. And if that's what you want, do your thing. I'm not going to be,
Well, listen, no one has more of a right than you to feel the way you feel about something you went through, and
I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. That's all. And I'm not speaking about anyone else. And again, you could either use it as something to push you forward, and it can be something that you overcame and accomplished, and you're gonna grow from it, and you've learned things from it, and now you're gonna take that with you and put it in your put it in your inventory, whatever it may be. That's great. But if you're gonna sit there and say, oh, this is why oh, I wasn't able to go to college because I had to go get treatments during high school for a year and I had to miss a year of school. So that's why I had to go do this. And that's, that's why I don't have a college degree. And that's why I do what I do now. It's like, okay. Or you can, in my case, like you go and find alternative schools. You go and pass tests that give you credit for those high school courses. You go and it's similar to a GED. And you can do all of those things and still go to college. I finished high school in 4 years still.
Yeah, went to one of the best universities.
Yeah, I went
Wow.
I went to a good college, and it's like it would have been much. All I'm saying is it would have been much easier to say like, oh, I can't, it's too much. I don't want to do school right now. I'm dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
Who would have argued with me?
Most people aren't like that.
That's the thing is like, if you're in a situation where no one's going to push back on you because you have cancer. What are you going to tell the kid with cancer? Like, no, you have to do your schoolwork and get cancer treatment and surgery at the same time.
No, they're not.
No one's ever going to do that. But you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least try to be bigger than that thing.
Yeah.
And not let it define you. That's all I'm saying.
Well, listen, most people don't think the way you think, and that's a lot of the reason we do this, because all it takes is that one person or those 1,000 people that see somebody have this mindset, and that might allow them to get out of the negative frame of mind that they're in if they're going through a similar thing. So I commend you for thinking that way. I mean, most people, like you had said, even if it's the smallest little thing, because you hear the conversations we have, a lot of the time with people in business or someone who is making an excuse about doing something or working harder, it's always going to be the next excuse for most people. So to have that mindset, I try to become more and more like that every day. You can't put the blame on other people for even things that they did wrong if you think it's wrong. Deal with it, fix it, and move on.
It happened.
To the next
It
bigger
is
and
what it
better
is.
thing.
Like, well, are you going to sit there and cry about it?
You can't dwell on
That's
the
what it
past.
is.
Yeah.
So you're going to sit there and cry about it? Are you going to tell everyone, oh, feel bad for me. Look, this bad thing happened. Or is it like, okay, that happened. That sucks.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Nothing I could have done to prevent it. Nothing I can do to change it. What now?
Yeah.
What am I going to do now?
Well, after you graduated college, you left us for a little while, which I want to talk about, which I don't even think you thought you'd be out there that long in Chicago. I just remember, you graduated college, you found your wife who you married. I was at your wedding, which was amazing. But that was the last couple of years are just like a blur. I remember you moved out to Chicago in what year?
So I met my wife in 2015.
2015.
In college.
Yep.
We moved together to Chicago.
2016? Or was it right? It was
summer of 2017.
Summer of 2017. That was before. Well, no, I was in the mortgage industry then. I just remember you moving out there, not even knowing you were in you went out there and you were right in the mortgage industry right away, or
Yeah, I basically got into the industry right away as soon as I went out there.
talk about Chicago a little bit. How'd you end up there for almost a decade, unexpectedly?
I don't. Yeah, that's the thing is, you never know. I try to keep an open mind, and you never know where life's going to take you. And I'm not talking bad about New York City. This is where I'm from. New York. I'm a Long Islander, obviously, but I grew up being in and out of the city on a regular basis. I have family that lives in the city my whole life. I love the city. Kind of. I like city living. I wanted to live in a city. I wanted to live in a place where you can go out to eat. You could go walk 10 minutes. There's 10 different restaurants. They're all fantastic.
And you spent time in Manhattan already, so I'm assuming.
Right, I was in
try
Manhattan for
something
4
different,
years.
similar
Right, but
to that life.
I couldn't stand Manhattan, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people have a lot of complaints about the city with the new mayor, with filth in the streets and a lack of public services happening and all problems. I mean, these are the same problems that I had when I was living in Manhattan. It's funny. Now people are complaining about them. I'm not making a political stance or a statement in any way,
Years
but
ago,
it's
they were
like
happening.
that's the exact reason I couldn't live in New York back in, we're talking 2016, 2015, why I just didn't want to live in New York. It was overcrowded, it was dirty, it was loud, it was just a place that I loved the convenience of, but I hated everything else about it. And both my wife and I, well, she was my girlfriend at the time, we both wanted to go experience a new city. We were both very open to leaving and going to a new city. And Chicago, I find to be the most underrated city in the country.
Yeah, after I went there for the first time a couple of months ago, and my mother lived there even for a year. I remember you helped her with
slept
her
on.
mortgage years ago. It was unbelievable.
It's slept on,
It felt like Manhattan, but it was different, but similar vibes, I feel like, to the city.
Yeah, it's like a smaller version of the city. It's a lot more spread out in parts. It's a driving city, unlike Manhattan. There's a beach. You're right on Lake Michigan, and the food scene there is unbelievable. The music scene there is pretty great, and I loved living there. I mean, neither my wife or I had plans or had immediate plans. Or wanted to really we have to get back to New York. I mean, I wish I could have brought the city here with me, but with my family being here, this is where I want to start a family.
Yeah.
I don't think the idea, obviously moving to another state, living in another city, it's cool. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But when it comes to raising a family, if you have family that you're close with, you have parents, you have siblings, you have cousins, you need help. If you're going to start a family of your own, you're going to have children. What are you going to do it all by yourself?
Yeah.
You go out to dinner. It's a babysitter every single time you go out. You can't go on vacation. You got to bring it seems like a lot. And I did miss my family.
Yeah, of course. And as you want to start a family, your own family, even like having my daughter Gianna almost 5 years ago at this point, to see just like my father with her and to see my family with her, it's like there's no better feeling than that. Like whether it's a half an hour or she sleeps over there for the weekend, it's amazing to see your family just look at your child like it's their own, and that's an amazing feeling.
You want your kid to see
you can
that,
do
right?
that, like you said, get the babysitters, be in a different state, and some people want to be that independent, like I'm going to do it by
Right.
myself and I want no help from anybody. I know people like that too, but whether it gets old or not, that's just not how I would want to be.
I mean,
With my family.
In my case, I felt like I had a choice whether I wanted to do that or
is a
be
choice.
in a more supportive environment with my family, and then also what you want to expose your kids to, right?
Yeah.
It's like you want your kids to grow up around their extended family. That's how I grew up, being
Right.
close with their cousins, being close with their uncles, their aunts, their grandparents. That being family oriented, valuing family is one of the most important things to me. So, as much as I loved it out there, and as good of schools and as great of suburbs some of the best schools in the country are Chicago suburbs. Really, New York City suburbs and Chicago suburbs, with the few exceptions, obviously, a couple schools here and there that make up a majority of the top 20 of the school districts in the country. So I could have definitely stayed there. It was a great option. And the real estate happens to be a lot cheaper. Taxes aren't great, but they're much better than Nassau County. But, family's everything.
Your roots were here.
They'll always be.
Yeah.
You can't.
Even like a snowbird that goes to Florida, like I could never move there full time, but I could go down there for a couple days or weeks at a time and bounce back. But I could never see myself like completely getting out of New York unless something in life happens that's uncontrollable or a situation happens. But other than that, where your roots are, it just feels like home. Whether it's starting a family
It's
or
always
just running
home.
a business,
Yeah.
it's always home.
It's always home.
And even talking to some of the people who I recently not reconnected with, but like I had said in the beginning, there's some people in life that whether you see them every day or you don't see them for 5 years, you have that bond the minute you reconnect with them. And I feel like we always had that.
100%.
Talking about a little bit of business, I feel like it's always like people always say like, you can't be in business with your friend or your best friend, and that never works, or that's never going to work. And I'm curious about your opinion. I know we have a lot of similarities, but we also have our differences that I think complement each other. Why do you think it's worked for us? And I'll give you my opinion. And why do you think it works between the two of us, in business, being how close we are and were, and because a lot of people are curious about that.
Well,
How do you make something work with somebody you're close with and separate the two?
Well, for me, it's not as much about separating.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same working with a best friend or working with family or working with like me personally. I could never work with my brother. Like I love him to death, but me and him like in business together, working together operationally on a daily basis would never ever work. I think in our case, we got lucky.
Yeah.
Because we kind of complement each other, like you said.
Even like constructive criticism, you put me in my place. Like I understand. Like okay, like wow, like you're probably right.
Same here.
And you have to be okay with that, which a lot of people aren't.
But the good thing is when you have a foundation to the relationship like we have, or like you have with family or with a best friend, is that you don't have to worry too much about offending the other person to the point, at least in our relationship.
Yeah.
There's that love there. That's
Yeah.
at the base of the relationship. That's
Correct.
going to hold it together. That you're not going to get with another partner that's just like a business associate or a friend, or whoever else it might be.
No, that genuine caring about the other person.
You can't get that elsewhere. So I think when you have that in the equation, it helps balance out some of the problems that come along.
Because there are problems, and that's life.
Of course,
We know that
there's
better
always
than anybody.
problems, no matter what. There's problems, but I think that keeping that in mind always, keeping in mind that we both have the same goal, we both want the same thing, we both value the same things, we both come from the same place, we were raised the same way. I don't think it's a normal situation where it's like, oh, me and my buddy who, we're best friends because we have the same personality and we're the same kind of person, let's go into business together. It's kind of like opposites attract, and the same repels.
Yeah.
You're going to butt heads because you're both going in the same direction. But if you have clear separation of duties and you have clear roles and responsibilities, and there's an understanding of who's going to be doing what and why, and you can operate from that kind of a framework, then it's possible to be successful with anybody. It doesn't matter if it's your brother or your friend or your parent,
Why wouldn't you want to be with people you're close with?
I've seen people build multi-million-dollar companies with their families, their family companies.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for a lot of people, but for a lot of families it does work. And it's really not so much about the fact that, it happens to be family so it can't work. It's really more about who are the people in that family? Like what roles is each person playing? And how are they doing that? Are they taking personal accountability? Are they taking responsibility? Are they doing what needs to be done? Are they carrying their weight? Because that's where I think it gets tricky in those kinds of situations, where one side isn't carrying their weight or not doing enough or not trying enough, or one person feels like they're pulling the slack of the other person. It builds resentment, and resentment can build more easily in relationships where there's love.
Like where you're comfortable with
where there's
somebody.
pre-existing relationship where you love each other, and it's like a spouse or a romantic partner. It's like that love is there, but real resentment can build.
Going back to like when I started in this business and just not having, I feel like, experience the way that I now have the experience, I would always not address certain things, or I would hold something in, like whether it was a system I didn't like or a process I didn't like, or it was just something I wanted to accomplish. Maybe I didn't do it right away. I feel like now, especially with us being in business together, we can have those conversations if like we don't agree on something. And I've learned just evolving as a human being that it's not good to not address the situation ever. I feel like a lot of people that we even know, they'll let something happen. They don't address it, so you naturally just convince yourself it's going to get better, but it's not.
Opposite
It's going to do the adverse effect. Whereas if you just deal with it head on, like I feel like we've learned to do, and I've learned to do myself, that just calls for more of just a better situation, just a better future. Nothing underlying that you think might be happening, or like, why is this person not doing this and why is the company not doing that? Just conversation a lot of the time fixes those problems. And I've learned that as I get older with the experience, that you have to just address something that's bothering you to a certain extent.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Of course.
So
It's like anything
I'm
else.
grateful we could have those conversations and not, let it affect both of us on our personal side of things, which is awesome.
Of course. And, it's like anything else. If you don't, if something needs fixing, the longer you wait to fix it, the more expensive, the more it's going to cost you to fix that thing.
Yeah, whether it's monetarily,
Doesn't
whether
matter.
relationship.
Doesn't matter. There's going to be cost associated with waiting. The best way to go about anything that needs fixing is to address it immediately and properly. Just one more thing to say about working with family, working with best friends. You can't just say, oh, that's my brother or that's my best friend. We're going to go into business together. Just like you can't say like, oh, that girl's really pretty. I want to marry her and have children with her. You have to determine compatibility in any relationship before you move forward with it, before you invest yourself, your time, your energy into it. You have to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that there's an understanding, and that each person is adding value in their own unique way, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for a situation where resentment's going to build. It's just natural. It's like I said before, with a romantic relationship, if it's your spouse or it's your partner or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it might be, you need to make sure that that person is compatible, that you guys can live together, that you guys can do all of these things before you commit to marriage, before you commit to starting a family. It's like a trial run. And the good thing is, when you have a family or you have a best friend, you've already done the trial run. You know who they are, you know what their strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are, and you need to look at it objectively. And you need to say, are we compatible from a business standpoint? Or is this going to work? Because we have a great relationship already, and the last thing I would want, that's the most valuable thing to me, the last thing I would want to do is spoil it for any amount of money, for any business. It doesn't matter. Relationships are everything. So I would say look at anything objectively before you go into it. If you're going to commit to something like a business or a marriage or any sort of contractual long-term agreement, you don't need to interview the person. You already know who they are. You just have to look at it from the right perspective.
Yeah, of course. And it's sad because I've done a lot of mortgages for girlfriends and boyfriends, people that took that step, probably not seeing if they were compatible living together or, taking that big step, moving in together for their first time. Like maybe you should have done that before you bought a home together or
Right.
signed on a $600,000 loan together, that now there's,
Now you found out that,
confrontation
oh,
now.
he doesn't take the garbage out, or, oh, he doesn't clean up after himself, or she doesn't, whatever it may be. It's like, well, you probably should have figured that out before you decided to hinge the rest of your life on it. And that's how it is with business, and that's how it is with relationships. It's like, maybe you should do your due diligence, and the onus is always on you, It's your choice who you go into business with. So don't go into business with someone because they're my friend or they're my family. That's a bad idea. But it might happen to work out that one of your friends or one of your family members might be a great business partner for you. And if that is the case, it's the most beautiful thing ever, because there's love from the start, and there's going to be more honesty in those kinds of situations.
Exactly.
And it's just going to result in better business, a better relationship.
I agree. I feel like people make the excuse like, oh, well, I knew this person, so we couldn't figure this out. Whereas I hear so many bad partner situations where you didn't know who the person was at all. So like they surprised you within a couple of months. What a shock. You didn't know who that person was. Just because they gave you a resume of things they accomplished in their life does not mean that they're going to do their part, or what you thought.
Or that
they
you
would do.
guys are compatible in business
Correct.
together.
Exactly.
You guys might both be independently successful in business. I'm not saying one of you is not good, one of you is better. You just don't work well together.
Yeah.
You need to, the sum, what is it? The sum of the whole needs to be, I don't know what the fucking saying is.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard that one.
Hold on. I'm going to pull it up and then I'm going to say it again.
That's where you need Jamie.
Jamie, pull that up.
I got the line on the tip of my tongue, and I don't know what you.
Here. The whole needs to be greater than the sum of its parts. That's the main thing. There needs to be value added through the partnership. And if you have that, and it's with someone that you love and someone that loves you, there's nothing better in life. It's like a marriage, a good marriage that lasts till you're 95 years old. There's nothing better than that in life.
It's amazing to see. And yeah, just like the way even like we care about like personal things. Like it's not just business. I feel like sometimes business partnerships, like once the day is over, like the day is over, the relationship's over, you know, until I guess we're back at work. But you and I are always constantly talking about evolving not only in our business, but you know, what do we do to better ourselves in this area of life? How do I buy more real estate? Should I make this decision? You know, this is a bad decision. You know, to have that even keel mindset that I think you bring to me, at least, you know, that's helped me, you know, excel, you know, the last several months that we've been doing this together. So, you know, sometimes I'm one to, you know, want to make decisions because I feel like people who don't make decisions fast, you know, it's worse than the person who might make a quick decision
I agree
and
wholeheartedly.
fail in a small way or in a minor way. But to have somebody like yourself who, and even me, when we talk about things, to mutually agree if it's a good or bad decision, you know, from caring about each other outside of business, I feel like that nourishes the relationship,
100%.
you know, and our success together.
I mean, we automatically have a leg up on any other.
If you didn't give a
partnership.
shit about somebody personally, why would you care if they made a good or bad business decision or life decision? Let's call a spade, you know, so what do you think your 17-year-old self would say about you now? You know, I always try to ask myself that question because I didn't know I'd be doing this, you know, at all. You know, forget just mortgages or mortgage lending, just to have a business and have a daughter and, you know, doing what we're doing and all of our big plans. And, you know, I always ask myself, like, what would my 17-year-old self tell me, you know, now? Would he be proud? You know, I think he'd be very proud, you know, especially even for you, like in the beginning of the episode, talking about how, like, there's no other option but to move forward, to excel, to not make excuses, to not play the victim mentality. So speaking from an outsider, I think the 17-year-old self would be proud of you. You know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's crazy to say.
We're doing some
but
crazy stuff.
I've never thought about that before. I've thought about what would a younger version of myself think of myself today. Of course, everyone I'm sure has thought of that. But my 17-year-old self, that wasn't a great person. I would say
That wasn't a great person.
it wasn't. Yeah, I mean,
Smoking cigarettes. We were doing a lot of crazy things back then.
they just invented Molly back then.
Yeah, yeah.
At least in my little bubble that I lived in, it was invented around that time. And maybe it was maybe it was around long before, obviously, ecstasy was. But it was a crazy time. We were young. We were dumb. We liked, you know, we didn't care about what we should have cared about. We cared about things that we shouldn't have. And
Now these 18.
honestly, if my 17-year-old self was looking at me today, I don't think he'd recognize me. I think he would say, like, that guy's a little bit of a square. I think he would say, I'm trying to do something that's appropriate for a podcast. He'd probably be impressed with my level of stability in my relationship. He'd probably be impressed with my anger management skills. But he'd probably think I'm a little bit of a loser.
Listen, I think what you just said is great, because I feel the same kind of way, and we all have our moments, but to see stability in certain areas, to see the consistency with just business and showing up every day without having to be told to, like most of this generation does, and even a lot of our generation does.
Yeah.
Just to have that hunger and that courage to get up every day and do the things that we even talk about accomplishing, when, let's be real, we don't need to do those things, because you could have less responsibility and do just enough in life. And for most people, that's okay. We could do well enough without having to take the risks and to do the things that we talk about every day. And I'm sure live a great life, but there's no other option for me, and I think for us, but doing all of the things we talk about and excelling in a way that we both believe in, and like you had said, sometimes people are aligned in different ways. Somebody wants more, somebody wants this, somebody wants something different. I think our goals are mutual.
100%. And listen,
That's exciting.
I hear what you're saying about these other people with, being satisfied.
Well, they got to be told, not anybody, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to work. I run into people every day that I see complaining about their lives, right? Whether it was to me or other people, but then I see them starting their day at 11 o'clock or, leaving early or whatever it was. And that's because they're always going to, I don't want to say always, because maybe it will change, but there's always going to be an excuse. And that goes back to like our whole conversation. Some people just have it embedded in them to take the initiative and not have to be told what to do.
I think a lot of people are confused about life. I think a lot of people know that money doesn't equal happiness.
Yeah.
Which everyone knows that. That's a fact. And they say to themselves, okay, well, I have to find happiness elsewhere. So I'm not going to prioritize work. I'm not going to prioritize challenging things because I just want to be happy. And happy for me means
Easy, maybe.
comfortable, easy, relaxed. That's what that looks like for, let's say, my name's John, and that's what that looks like for me. And so I'm happy, I'm satisfied, but are you really happy if you're not successful? And are you really successful if you're not overcoming challenges and doing things that are hard? That, to me, the most rewarding things in life and the things that result in real happiness, not in comfort,
Temporary fixes.
not in satisfaction with your life. That's nice too, just being satisfied with everything. But if you want to really be happy, I don't think you can do it unless you take risks and you overcome hardship and challenges. And I think that's where the meaning in life comes from.
Yeah.
And starting a family and raising kids and doing all of, it's much, I don't want to have kids because I want to be happy. I want to enjoy my life. It's like, well, okay, you want to live a little bit more selfishly, which nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying you can't do that, or I'm not judging you for it. I just think that doing what's harder and starting the family and having the children, raising a family and watching them grow and going into business for yourself and just doing what's hard, number one, you're not going to have regrets later on in life about not trying or not attempting something.
You could always do what's easy and go back to that, right?
That's the worst thing. And number two, I don't think you're going to feel a true sense of accomplishment without that. And without a sense of accomplishment, I don't think you get real satisfaction in life. So I would say, even though what's the status quo is good, it's more than good enough, you're getting by, no complaints, you're not going to find meaning in a life like that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's, I think it's a great way to wrap up today. I know we're going to do a lot more of this, as we evolve in our future together. I'm happy to have the TFG chain on, that we both have.
I should have worn it
We
today.
got a lot of good stuff going on, so I'm excited to be doing this with you. And, you know, this is probably one of the first conversations we've ever had that talks about certain things.
Yeah.
And it's exciting stuff, bro. I wouldn't want to be doing this with anybody else but you, and even with the people that, you know, we're all around. You know, it's exciting to be around successful, like-minded people that care, and it's not just about business. So
Of course.
on to the next one.
Yes, sir.